It's not about the job. It's not about anything outside of you. It's not about what other people think of you. It's not about what other people expect for you or want for you, even the ones who love you. It's not even about my opinion. It's about what you need and desire, and nobody knows that better than you do. What if it was never about the job? Welcome. Hello. Welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy. What if it was never about the job? What if it was never about your spouse? What if it was never about your mother-in-law? What if it was never about your office manager or your patients or your team? What if it never had anything to do with anything outside of you? And what if you were equipped to navigate anything that came your way, no matter what the day brought? What if you had so much confidence in yourself that it didn't matter whether someone cut you off? It didn't matter if the school was delayed 2 hours. It didn't matter if your nanny got COVID. It didn't matter if your patient suddenly stopped coming because you stopped offering dental insurance. It didn't matter if your friend didn't text you back. What if nothing outside of you needed to change? Nothing. In order for you to feel the way you wanted to feel? What if your own self-confidence and love for yourself was enough to navigate all those ups and downs? Because that's the truth. The truth is, there is no perfect job out there. The truth is, there is no perfect assistant, office manager, nurse, anesthesia tech. There is no perfect spouse. There is no perfect life. There is no perfect country to live in. It actually has nothing to do with what's outside of you. And everything in your heart's desire, everything that you ever wanted to experience in your life is available to you right now without needing to change a damn thing. And I get it. That might be hard to hear, but I would love to remind you that you are that powerful. And a part of you has known it all along. A part of you has known that you are that powerful, you are that capable, that actually the things outside of you do not matter. And maybe it feels uncomfortable to hear that because you feel so far from that conviction of who you are, that love for yourself. And what I'm asking you today in this episode, in this moment, wherever you are listening to this podcast, to just hold a little spark, a little flame inside your heart of the possibility of that being true, because it actually is the truth. You know, I was talking to somebody last night, and a wonderful, beautiful dentist. She has been in practice for many years. She's been bouncing between different associateships, and she's looking at this opportunity for purchasing a practice. And she's really excited about it. She's realized that an associateship, it's just not for her. Not that there's anything wrong with it. She's always had this dream of owning her own business, of being the leader of her own team, of creating the culture. Every associateship position she's been in, she's noticed inefficiencies. She's noticed energetically how it feels, and she doesn't love it. And she knows it can be different. She has this vision of a dental practice that feels great to walk into, where you feel held, where you feel like you have the dentist's attention. You're not just a number, where the team supports one another. She has this dream and this vision of enjoying going to work every day, of only working, 3 days a week, and then heading into the mountains with her family on the weekends and refilling and fueling herself. She has this beautiful vision, and she found a practice to purchase. And because of the cost of the practice, the purchase price, it is so enormously inflated. She would have to work 5 days a week, intense days, have a production quota that's quite high in order to pay off the loan. And she was talking to me last night. She was saying, Tarryn, do you think this is a great deal? I think I could get it paid down in 10 years. I'd have to put off my family planning. I'd have to put off, enjoying this town. But I'd be moving to the town that I'd want to be in, but I couldn't quite enjoy it yet because I'd have to really hustle for the first 10 years. And it doesn't have a team yet. I'd have to hire a team. And that's a little stressful, but I think I could navigate the stress. And in that moment, I realized that she was trying so hard to squeeze herself into this opportunity, to give herself some reason why this was something she had to jump at immediately. And in doing so, deny everything she wanted. We do this so often. We think that this is our last chance, that this opportunity outside of us, this person outside of us, this form or framework of doing something is the be all end all. It's like it's finally here. And we see so much potential, and then we try to squeeze ourselves into it and force a square peg into a round hole. And the truth is, you have so much more power than you realize. Even she does in this moment. I remember when I was first looking at dental practices to purchase, and this was many, many years ago. This was in 2004, when that was the first time I was stepping into practice ownership. And I was kept looking at offices to purchase, and I kept thinking, I could see myself here. I could see myself here. I would have to do this. I would have to, live in this area. I would have to change my treatment philosophy this way. I would have to be okay with these compromises. And I remembered looking at them and trying to see my life in each one of them. And what I didn't realize is I get to create my life first. I get to create my vision of what my life is first. I never gave myself that opportunity. I kept trying to squeeze myself into the opportunities that were there. Same thing with relationships when I was younger. Instead of envisioning the kind of relationship that I desired, relationships would show themselves to me, would present themselves to me, and I would try to squeeze myself into that one. Isn't that so interesting? We get to create our own reality first. And I think what pushes us into squeezing ourselves into somebody else's life, someone else's algorithm of success, someone else's business model, is that we don't slow down enough to lean into what it is we actually want. And that is a superpower. And often when we've squeezed ourselves and contorted ourselves so much into somebody else's vision, we start the resentment. We start to feel frustrated. We start to think, oh, that wasn't it. It must be something else. And now the grass looks greener on the other side. Over and over and over again. It's not about the job, because the one thing that I had bypassed so many years ago was slowing down long enough to ask myself, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want my life to look like? And I recognize that in that moment, as you're sitting down with yourself, even if you give yourself the time and you say, okay, I'm going to sit today and just dream up this life. I'm going to play. I'm just going to imagine, what do I want in a job, in a profession? How do I want my life to look? We forget that our jobs are here to serve our lives, and not the other way around. And so often 10, 20 years in, we realize, oh my gosh, I have been going to this job, this business every day, and my life has to conform to the job. We've got it backwards. You get to create your life first, and it gets to shift and change. You do not have to sleep in the bed that you made. I know. That was a saying I used to say all the time. I feel like I've made my bed and now I've got to sleep in it. I've committed to this thing and now I've got to see it through. That is possibly one of the most crippling perspectives. Not true. You get to ask for what you need. But step one is asking yourself, what is that? And not just jumping at opportunities because you think you should, because you think it's the last time this is going to happen for you, because everyone else thinks it's a good idea. No one is going to show up to work next month to say, I thought this was a great idea for you. Now I'm here to help you out. This is your life. It's not about the job. It's about you. And here's the other really interesting side comment. And I've said this on the podcast before. You can't make a mistake. Isn't that interesting? Even the biggest mistakes I made in business, in jobs, in saying yes to an opportunity, even the biggest disaster served me in such great ways. It gave me so much that I had no idea it could have. I've shared a little bit about this in the past. I brought a practice when I was very young. It was a disaster. And you know what I got out of that practice? A stepmom who I love. A knowing of what it's like to be in a practice that is so stressful and overwhelming. A deep confidence in myself that I can face anything and come through it on the other side. Because I did. I bought a dumpster fire, and I am sitting here today whole and healthy and confident and happy, and I am not sure that I would be here today if I had not had that experience. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you have to buy a dumpster fire to have a great life, to finally get to a place of feeling enormous sovereignty and autonomy in your life and in your choices and in your happiness. Not at all. In fact, I believe the opposite. I do not believe that we have to experience a rock bottom to turn things around. What I do believe is it requires slowing down long enough to ask yourself, what do I want? And then giving yourself permission and love enough to be worthy of it. Because once you have an idea, what is it that I want? Now you can turn around and say, oh, isn't that so interesting? Here's an option coming along, and it kind of fits my model. Let me see if I can ask for these 3 things to shift and change. Oh, I wish I had had that knowledge when I bought my first practice. You get to ask for what you want. You get to ask for it. You are in the driver's seat. In that situation, you are in the driver's seat. You have not yet committed to anything. You get to ask for what you want. And if they say no, you get to walk away. But knowing what you want is the first most important thing. I wish I had known that. And actually, I'm so grateful I didn't, because I learned that by going through that process. For that specific example, one of the things that the owner refused to do was decrease the sale price, even though it was enormously inflated. This was my situation. And I've said to him, the way your practice is currently performing, it is not possible to pay the loan based on the income of the practice. And the bank actually came back to me and said, based on the income of the practice, we won't cover this loan. The bank actually said no. So I went back to the person who was selling the practice and I said, hey, even the bank thinks this is a crazy idea. And you know what he did? He said, okay, I will hold a portion of the note, meaning he would lend me a certain amount of money personally in order to pay for the practice. And I knew that that was not what would make me feel safe and comfortable and not stressed. And yet I thought I had to squeeze myself into his business model. I thought I had to squeeze myself into his number. And the day I walked into the practice, the pressure was on, day one. So I just changed one stress from an associateship that I didn't love to this extreme financial stress of a practice with a production number that I needed to hit every single day, as if I was working for a DSO. And that pressure from day one was overwhelming. Now, the specifics of my situation is not important. What is important is you get to decide what is right for you, no matter who you are, no matter who your parents were, how you grew up, how much money you have in the bank, how much education you have, how much experience you have. You get to decide that for yourself first. It's not about the job. It's not about anything outside of you. It's not about what other people think of you. It's not about what other people expect for you or want for you, even the ones who love you. It's not even about my opinion. It's about what you need and desire, and nobody knows that better than you do. And here's the really brilliant thing. This journey is about self-discovery. And that's the part about where you cannot make a mistake. Because even when you choose something that isn't aligned with you, you learn something really big. You learn a new truth about who you are. So the really cool new perspective is, can you raise your emotional vibrational frequency? I know that's a ridiculous word. I love using this in one of my programs that I run for women doctors and dentists. Emotional vibrational frequency. What is that? Can you raise the energy of how you feel? If you imagine the way we feel has like an energetic vibration, right? So when you feel really low, when you feel depressed, that's a really low on the vibrational scale. It's just a way of measuring emotion. Can you raise that emotion just a little? And I'm not talking about being bypassing and toxic positivity. I'm just saying, can you raise your emotional vibrational frequency just a little to feel a little bit better about yourself, to love yourself a little bit more, so that you can start creating the image, the visual, the potential, creating the life of your dreams? And it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. It doesn't matter if you're 25 years in. It doesn't matter if you're 3 years from retirement. You still get to do this for yourself. What do you want? What is the life, not the job, not the business, not the practice, the life you want to live? And maybe a really big part of that is your work. It is for me. A really big part of the life I want to live is the work that I do, is empowering women like you, is raising you up to remember the power of who you are, is giving you that sense of self-confidence and self-worth that is your birthright, that is who you are. And it isn't about anything outside of you. And if you need a little bit of evidence of that in your life, just look backwards. I know, we're so used to looking forwards. We're so used to looking at how much gap there is between where I am now and what I wish for my life. We're so used to comparing ourselves now to what it is we really want. Or actually, we don't even do that, right? We usually compare ourselves to where we are now to where other people are, which is completely outrageous because it's not about anything outside of you. And there's not a single other person in this world that is living the life that you deserve and are worthy of. Not one. We can look to the left and to the right and get some great ideas and really cheer each other up, cheer each other on. And as women, we are so good at that. We're so good at lifting each other up. But when it starts the comparison game, when we start to compare ourselves to others, what does it do? It drops your energetic vibration. It makes you feel worse. And now we're no longer able to see with clarity what it is that we want for ourselves. So that gap of where I am now and where I wish I could be can feel so overwhelming. So I'm asking you to look backwards just for a moment and recognize how far you've come. Look at everything you have navigated. Look at how powerful you are. It blows my mind sometimes when I look back and go, girl, you went through dental school when you doubted yourself. You got into ortho residency when you didn't believe in yourself. You raised 3 children. You birthed 3 children. And I'm talking about myself now. Please don't compare yourself to me, but do this exercise. Look back and say, sister, look at everything you've come through. I look back and I think, wow, my little 8-year-old self growing up in South Africa, I had a world that was this teeny tiny small. I had no idea I'd be here in this moment, speaking on this platform, supporting the thousands of women that I do in really deep, impactful ways. No idea. Look back at your 8-year-old self. If you were to bring her into your home today, what would she say? Would her mind be blown? Guess what? That is what you've done. That is how enormously capable and powerful you are. And only you know the challenges that you've overcome. Only you know the family you were brought up in, the community you came through. Only you know the challenges you faced. Look back, sister, and recognize and use that as evidence because it is got nothing to do with anything outside of you. It's not about the job. There's not a better job out there. It's about you. It's about your recognizing you. It's about you being still for a moment long enough to remember the power that you are and the power that you have to create anything. And yes, there are going to be challenges that come along the way, 100%. There are going to be disappointments. There are going to be moments where you thought there was a certain outcome and it turned out completely differently. Yep. And each one of those is going to teach you even more about who you are. And that is beautiful. So I invite you today to just set it down. It has got nothing to do with anything outside of you. And maybe this moment right now in your life is asking you to just go inwards and see what is alive and true for you. If nobody else's opinion mattered, if the money didn't matter, because guess what? That carries its own energy, its own perspective, its own opinion, its own expectations. If you could put that aside for a moment, if you could put aside the expectations of your children, of your parents, of your sisters, of your colleagues, of your whoever, and just be still with you, what do you need? And know that that need and that desire can change. It is a living entity. You have my permission. You have the permission of the universe to change. It is, in fact, a superpower. The ability to pivot. It is how we run successful businesses. It is how we run successful families. It is how we live successful lives. Is this agility and permission to change your mind. And that is within you too. And so today I offer you this permission to go inside. And just for today, what is your dream? And you are so worthy of it. Thank you for listening to the Business of Happiness podcast. If this episode brought you new perspective and value, I invite you to subscribe so that you catch all upcoming episodes and leave us a review. And if you know of a friend or colleague who could benefit from this perspective, share this episode with them and empower their day. For more information about the Business of Happiness and the Radical Happiness for Practitioners course, find me on www.thebizofhappiness.com. See you there.